Look, today we're diving into something profoundly heavy. We're looking at a piece of writing that, honestly, it forces us to look right at the human cost of a systemic crisis. A crisis that hasn't just pushed a whole generation to the brink, it's driven a highly respected elder to put his own life on the line. What we're unpacking here isn't just cold data. It's this dark, desperate plea straight from the heart of an 18-year-old student. It perfectly captures this terrifying moment where youth, utter desperation, and extreme sacrifice just collide. 12. I mean, it sounds like a small number, right? But in this context, the weight of it is just unbearable. Because this number, it represents the tragic, irreversible loss of 12 young students. 12 teenagers who were pushed to the absolute edge, taking their own lives right after these massive, life-deciding competitive exams. The author makes it incredibly clear, this isn't just about failing a test. It's a fatal flaw in a massive machine that controls the futures of millions. Part 1. Millions of broken dreams. Just look at the sheer scale of this. 2 million, or 20 lakh students, as the author points out. 2 million young people who recently sat down for what turned out to be a deeply, deeply flawed examination process. We're talking about consecutive exams that literally dictate the rest of your life, and they went horribly wrong. It left an entire ocean of kids completely stranded in this nightmare of uncertainty. And hearing it from the author's perspective, an 18-year-old girl who survived this exact system, who actually took the NEET exams, it's chilling. She doesn't call it an academic hurdle. She explicitly calls it mental and emotional torture. Just put yourself in her shoes for a second. You're 18, your whole future is hanging by a thread, and the system you're trusting is so broken it just shatters you. That's the terrifying reality these kids are waking up to every single day. Part 2. An unexpected martyr. This is where the essay hits this absolutely devastating contrast. On one hand, you have Sonam Wangchuk, a 59-year-old, incredibly respected scientist. Like the author says, he lacks absolutely nothing. He's got family, health, wealth, love, the support of society. But then, on the other hand, you have an 18-year-old student who feels entirely, completely powerless. You have a man with literally everything to lose, starving himself, risking his own life for a generation that feels they have no voice at all to save themselves. The author really wrestles with this crushing imbalance. She asks, with this incredibly genuine anguish, why should a 59-year-old man suffer so brutally for an 18-year-old student? It's such a haunting question, isn't it? It captures that profound, intimidating discomfort of watching someone else take on a lethal burden just for your sake. It's deeply serious, and it honestly leaves her questioning the very nature of why the sacrifice is even happening. Part 3. The burden of guilt. Because even though the author survived the exams, and yeah, she's physically safe, mentally, she's completely paralyzed. She outlines this incredibly toxic mix of emotions. First off, just total helplessness. She doesn't have some huge platform, she can't even easily get to the protest at Jantar Mantar. Then there's this crushing survivor's guilt. She feels awful just going about her day, trying to be happy and plan her future, knowing a man is literally starving for her cause. And wrapping it all up is this massive, unpayable, lifelong debt she feels toward him. And this guilt pushes her to a really dark, terrifyingly sad conclusion. She writes, and I'm quoting here, "Maybe it's for those 12 kids who died, but thinking about it practically, the ones who are alive are not worthy enough for the death of such a precious scientist." She's literally saying that her life and the lives of her peers do not justify losing this man. I mean, what a desperately bleak place for a young mind to be pushed to. Part 4. A desperate plea. Now, the author doesn't mince words here. She explicitly calls the ruling government unjust for how it utterly failed to conduct these exams properly. And while we're just here to unpack her perspective, her main point is undeniable. No matter the politics, no matter if the government actually fixes the system or not, these 2 million students are going to feel eternally indebted to Wangchuk, simply because he stood up for them when absolutely no one else would. Which leads to her final haunting plea. Even though this message may not reach him, I desperately plead him to stop this strike. It is a literal beg for his life, just a desperate plea shouted into the void. She fundamentally believes that her generation doesn't deserve him risking his life like this, and she is terrified, absolutely terrified, that this strike is going to claim another victim. She just wants the suffering to stop before it goes any further. So we're going to leave you with this heavy, provocative question today. When a system completely breaks down, when it fails millions of kids and literally costs the youth their lives, who should carry the ultimate cost? The real tragedy here is that the cost is already being paid, right now. It's being paid in guilt, in starvation, and in young lives lost. Just take a moment and really think about that. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.